17,425. And the total number of cards issued to Ghanaians was 900,000. The card was a simple 2D barcode card. It had only 4 fingerprints, and the storage capacity was only 2 kilobytes, and there was no tracking number. Today, the card we have is, as I described earlier, it is a dual interface smart card. Both sides of the card can be read, and it captures all 10 fingers. It has 128 kilobyte of storage capacity, 128 kilobytes, and there is a tracking number. Today, 18 million people have been registered, 18,145,839. We printed 17,882,873 cards, and we have issued 17,323,416 cards. And there are about 110,000 cards applications that reflect multiple applications, situations where people have tried to register more than once for the Ghana card. If you do that, you will not get the card. If you get it, only if you get even a dozen cards by fraud, only one card will be active, and it is pointless trying to get more than one card. Now, some of you might have been in Ghana or might have known that we conducted a mass registration exercise. We tried to do that in order to get a critical mass of Ghanaians, their identity records, to populate the national identity database. By the time we had finished, we did it between 29th April 2019 and 25th September 2020. By the time that mass registration exercise was over, we had captured over 16 million. We had exceeded our mass registration target by 80%. Target of 80%. We have printed over 80% of the Ghana cards instantly, and not go and come and it takes 1 year or whatever. We have been able to print over 80% of them instantly. The remainder not printed due to some of the reasons I've given, people doing funny things, and also unreliable internet connectivity. That is a major factor for the non-printing of cards. We had also employed over 76,000 Ghanaians and trained them, young people, and trained them and used them as field officials. About 2,000 persons were also recruited and trained as commissioners for oaths, we NIA in conjunction with the Judicial Service of Ghana. And this was important because when people go to be vouched for, what people normally call guarantee system, when you go to guarantee for your relative or somebody, we want you to do so with all integrity, honesty behind it. And so you do so by swearing an oath before a commissioner for oaths. It has the same legal effect as if you gave evidence to a judge. If you lie, you have perjured yourself, and it has the same legal consequences as perjuring yourself before a judge. So we had that number of commissioners trained, and we shared biographic data sets with the National Health Insurance Authority, Social Security and National Insurance Trust, and with the Ghana Revenue Authority. In the process, during the mass registration, we were able to stop some 3,811 foreigners from registering onto the National Identity Register as Ghanaians. Fraudulent attempts to become Ghanaians. These are technical details of some of the processes that we went through that I can speak to today. But the roadmap to success, we made several amendments to our law to, for example, expand the space on the registration form beyond 4 for number of spouses, because in Ghana, some people have more than 4 spouses. On the old form, the space was limited to 4, and there were complaints from some men that there wasn't enough space for them to specify their other wives. And it is important for purposes of inheritance and the birth rights of children and all of that. So we did that. And there were other reasons why, we removed, for example, the use of baptismal certificates and weighing cards and all of those as proof of your Ghanaian identity or citizenship in this case. So I've gone through, I think the most important things have been highlighted. The roadmap to success, I think I can skip this. The critical success factors worth highlighting. The first and foremost point, I think, is a political will of the president, the vice president, and the sector minister to ensure the success of this project. The president has been solidly behind this enterprise. The vice president, I'm sure, is commonly known as being a champion of digitalization, including the Ghana card process. Our minister responsible for NIA, the key one was Dr. Anthony Akoto-Osei of blessed memory. He was solid and very knowledgeable about parliamentary processes and supported us as we went through the different phases of our work, including the legal reforms that I talked about and the negotiations resulting in the integration of Ghana card with ECOWAS card. We got the critical buy-ins of key social influencers such as President Kufuor, the President Rawlings during his lifetime, and key traditional rulers, Toba Fede, Asantehene, the Nairi, and many others. Each time we would register such key persons, they would permit us to record and to make news and little flyers or bullet points with their registration. The role of the public-private partnership agreement. This is a very important point. Since 1974, we've been trying to give unto ourselves a national ID. Kutu Echampon started it, and it fizzled away. And we tried different modalities, it didn't work. President Kufuor came, and this public-private partnership arrangement came on board, and it enabled the private partner, IMS, to take on the responsibility of technically, designing, conceptualizing, building, funding. The first, whilst Ghana government took on the responsibility for 124 million USD. That partnership has enabled, together with the other factors I've mentioned, have propelled the success of this enterprise. Left to the government alone, chances are, no matter the strength of political will, the funds have never been adequate, and chances are we will not have been where we are. I think another key factor was the passion and enthusiasm of NIA staff who went to the field, went through, very difficult terrain, and lived in very difficult circumstances. A tribute to the women, the young ladies who took on this challenge. I remember one time somewhere It came a very typical Ghanaian village. These young ladies who were driving, and they were on Okada, on their motorbikes, on the back, stranger motorbike riders. And they're going to the next town, which was about 17 kilometers or so away, to go buy food, get some sanitary pads. I mean, very difficult. It was late in the evening, and they went through all of these difficulties in order to help give us a national ID and civil society organizations. I must single out in particular also stability in institutional leadership. I think the president has had confidence in me and in the membership of the governing board that over the two periods of his government, he has maintained the same chairman and other members of the board that are changeable. Some of them are not changeable. They are institutional leaders, heads of Senate, Ghana Revenue Authority, Ghana Health Insurance Authority, Statistical Service, Ghana Immigration Service, and the Births and Deaths Registry. These are institutional heads that cannot be changed, generally speaking. But the board chair and the other two members who are government appointees, the president has maintained them, and I believe it's an expression of his confidence in them. And finally, and most importantly, the board also having confidence in the executive secretary and management and maintaining and supporting them throughout the period, ensuring stability in institutional leadership. I make this point because between 2009, July 2009 and February 2017, there were four main changes in the leadership of NIA. Executive Secretary, Dr. William Haji, then Mr. What's his name? And then Dr. Koba, but before Dr. Koba, there was also Mr. Pepra, and then there was Mr. Kwame Griffiths, all within the space of 8 years. Now, within the almost 8 years of President Akufo-Addo's tenure in office, there's been only one executive secretary. And I think it has contributed greatly to the success of NIA's operations. The major challenges we encountered were the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the mass registration activities. We also suffered from considerable use of misuse of social media to provide and propagate false information about our operations to the public. So we spent a lot of energy often defending or carrying of negative commentary. Poor network connectivity, especially in the rural parts of the country, hampered our work. Although I must say that in some rural areas, network was stronger than, say, in Medina. And when we were piloting the system, we went to Lampantana, Medina, because the challenge was greatest there with technology. Excuse me. I've mentioned the challenges with our people traversing riverine or difficult to reach areas.
Thank you very much. So I'll take over whilst some next. So as part of the work that the NIA has done, since 2021, which is November 2021, we have established a total of 16 regional offices, and then we have also established 276 district offices. Now, in NIA, we have what we call operational district offices, and they are coterminous with the constituencies in Ghana. So they are not the administrative districts of Ghana, but the constituencies in Ghana. And we've done that so that we can do what we call continuous registration. Post-mass registration, there are still people who were not able to register during mass registration, and either because they were not well or they were out of the country, or because they just did not have the time to do the registration at that point. And we have continued to do that. And then you also know that having registered, there are people whose personal information will change. So maybe their names have to be corrected because they've gotten, or they changed because they've gotten married, or also maybe because they were either in secondary school and now they finished university, so they have tertiary information, they've learned a new language, they want to update their records, they were married, are no longer married, so that sort of thing, so that our work is continuous. The registration of Ghanaians will be in perpetuity, we'll do it forever and ever. So these district offices are where we go to enable us continue the registration activities. We also know that there are people who would have lost their cards, either because it's been stolen or simply because they cannot find them, and they may have to have their cards replaced. So these district offices serve as the point where you can do the replacements for the cards. In addition to that, I've said if you also want to update your personal records, the district offices do that. We have registered Ghanaians who are 15 years and above. But we are about to start a phase where we register Ghanaians who are aged 6 years to 14 years. And by plan, we intend to register them in schools. Because in collaboration with the Ghana Education Service, if you enter a school, the assistance of the teachers or the personnel of the school, you can comfortably register children, and they won't be in long queues like maybe the adults were when they were registering during the mass registration era. Okay, so the statistics we have here is just to give you an idea of what our targets were by 2021 and what we've actually achieved. I think the Executive Secretary has gone through what we have done so far. We have done about 18.1 million registrations to date, and we have printed a certain number. So this is just to give you an idea of what our original targets were and what we got. So if you look at the enrollment target, it was about 18.4 million. And by 2021, we were at 15.6 million. But today, I can say that we are now at 18.1 million in registrations. So by the end of the mass registration exercise, we aimed at 80% of the population of Ghana. But we had exceeded the percentage by about 4.8% when we finished mass registration. As part of the work NIA does, we really and truly must give access to persons and institutions that require data. And that includes institutions that use data for operational activities. So the list of institutions we have here are the institutions that we engage for data harmonization and integration purposes. So when we say data harmonization and integration, it doesn't mean that NIA is collecting data from the institution, but rather NIA is collecting data from Ghanaians and sharing that basic data with the institutions, then they can add on. So if SNIT collects additional information, at least SNIT will know that your name is Teresa, and everybody, every institution in the country will have the same name, Teresa. So by which time you would have harmonized the database of all the different silos in the country, and you have one clean register, and then you have a single source of truth. So some of the institutions that we have harmonized and integrated data with will be the National Health Insurance Authority, and Social Security National Insurance Trust, SNIT, Ghana Revenue Authority, Birth and Death Registry. We are working with them because, you know, for birth and death, they register births and then they register deaths as well. So we collaborate with them so that when someone passes away and they notify the birth and death registry, the notification will come to NIA. And then NIA will not delete the records of the person, but they will simply deactivate the card of the individual so that the records are only suppressed. In the work that we do at NIA, we do not delete any data we have. So we only improve it, or we add on, or we take out, but we never delete the original data that we provided as part of the work that we do. It is to help with the auditing of the data that we have collected. And also, there are people who may have changed their name 6 or 7 times. You want to, at a point, establish why people are making such changes, whether it is genuine for genuine reasons or whether it is for certain nefarious activities that they engage in. We are also working with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, and this is actually Passport Office, so that if you want to acquire a passport, NIA provides the basic data, and then Passport Office builds on that data and issues you with a passport. We've done so with Ghana Immigration Service as well. That is why now when you travel from anywhere in the world to Ghana and you are Ghanaian, when you get to Ghana and you hold your Ghana card and your identity is verified, you can come into the country without the need of a visa. Insofar as you hold the Ghana card, it establishes that it confirms your nationality as a Ghanaian, and it will mean that you do not require to have a visa to enter Ghana. So that is the work we are doing with the Passport Office and also immigration hand in hand, because they are at the borders of the country. With the Electoral Commission, the law requires us to for them to use a Ghana card when registering voters. So if you recall, in 2020, I think when the register was opened, all persons who had Ghana cards were able to use their Ghana card as a basis for registration. And likewise, in 2024, we have done the same. Then with the telcos as well, to buy a SIM card in Ghana, to transfer to port, we have something called porting. Maybe you're on a particular network, you want to move to another network. You are allowed to do so, but you have to be identified so that you don't engage in maybe SIM card fraud using someone else's SIM card. The potential benefits of the National Identity Register, I think we have gone over the benefits of it. It gives you a single source of truth. It eliminates the cost of periodic registration. So you have one database in Ghana. All we are doing is updating it on a regular basis, rather than having you to go and do a new card all the time with different silos. So it reduces citizenship registration at different entry points. You have one registration, it is just built on. Also, we issue you a smart ID card. The Ghana card is valid for 10 years. So if you're issued a Ghana card, you can use it for all the transactions. And in law, under what we call the legislative instrument 2111, which is the National Identity Register Regulations 2012, it was passed in 2012. There are 17 mandatory uses of the Ghana card. So the law says that for any transaction that requires you to use, or it requires you to be identified, the Ghana card shall be used. So if you are buying a parcel of land in Ghana, you have to be identified, and we will go to a biometric identification. If you are registering your vehicle or you are getting a driver's license, you have to go through verification. If you are paying taxes, even paying taxes in Ghana, you need to be verified biometrically to do that. So there are a number of them, 17 different uses of the Ghana card, and some of which is what I've mentioned. And that is to also reduce the idea of fraud in the system, where people use other people's identities to engage in transactions which result in fraudulent transactions. We are also trying very hard, by virtue of what we have done, we are enhancing inclusiveness because of the fast and accurate enrollments that we do. If you come to an NIA office, take away the number of people you come and meet when you get to the office, but take it from when you actually said, from the minute you sit before a registration officer to go through the cells. It takes an average of 30 to 45 minutes. That's end to end. There are people who may come to the offices and may stay longer, because if you come to my office at, say, 10 a.m., there are people who may have come before you, and you end up in a queue. So by the time it gets to you, you may have sat there for 2 to 3 hours. And sometimes you hear that people are saying that maybe coming to get the Ghana card and takes a while. But if you are to calculate the end to end, you would see that it actually does not last beyond 45 minutes. And as part of the work that we are doing, the work we want to do for registration of Ghanaians abroad, we want it to be appointment-based. So, subject to your own convenience, when you want to register, you book your appointment in the comfort of your home at the time you appear at the mission office, and then you go through the appointment system. So you don't have to come and sit and wait your turn to be registered. So those are some of the benefits that the register have. So as I described, or as I indicated earlier, there are some mandatory uses. So we've listed them. We share them on our website so that all of you can have access to it. And some of them include even registration for voting, and all banking transactions. So any financial transaction that you do in Ghana, you are required to identify yourself biometrically. On the registration activities that NIA undertakes, one of them would be the registration of children aged 0 to 5. Now, the law says that we must register all Ghanaians from age 0. So, as I said, we started with age 15. We have registered 18.1 million. We are moving to 6 to 14, and the average number is about 7.8 million children in that age bracket who are Ghanaian. So we will be moving to register them. Then we'll move to 0 to 5. So in March of this year, the Vice President actually piloted the registration exercise for 0 to 5 years. Now, internationally, you know that children who are aged between 0 and 6 do not have their biometrics perfectly formed. So if you want to pick the fingerprints of the child, you might not get accurate records. So what we are doing is that between the age of 0 and 5, the child can be registered, but the child's identity is tied to that of the parent that registers the child. So the parent has a Ghana card, brings their child to a health center or a birthing center, maybe to weigh them or to go through a certain health service. And when they get there, the mother or the father who presents the child is verified biometrically. Then the child's details are picked with the help of the Ghana Health Service that has collected that data. And then also the births and deaths registry, which has also provided a unique birth certificate number for that child. So those two identities are now tied to the parents of the child until the child is 6 years old. So we will generate a unique number for the child, the Ghana card number for the child. But the child will not be issued a physical card until they turn 6 years. And then once they are 6 years old, we can now take their picture and we can pick their biometrics and we'll issue physical cards to those children. So that is something that we have piloted, and it is work that is ongoing. It's in progress since March 2014 of this year. 2024, 14th March of this year. And why do we do this? Specifically because of the SDG goals, Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, where and this is goal 16.9, which requires us to have legal identity for all persons by 2030. Ghana has set the pace. We're in 2024, and if you look at the size of our population, we are almost there when it comes to registration. But specifically for registration of children, what do? You don't want a situation where someone takes someone's child trafficking is on the rise, all the things that are negative or negatively impact identity if you fail to identify children. And NIA is, by virtue of its mandate and in support of the global health initiatives under the SDG goals, working hard to register children and help in the development of digital health systems. In any given society, when you have data, you are able to plan better. You are able to analyze the data. If you want to give health care to children, you would want to know how many children are born in which district of the country. And you want to know the mortality rates of those children. You want to know what types of medical interventions to make in those areas. So some of the key benefits are for legal identity, protection of children against exploitation, the foundation for digital health records with enhanced data accuracy, improved health delivery service, efficient resource allocation, and then finally, the achievement of the global health initiatives. So what are NIA's next steps? NIA's next steps will include the continuation of registration of Ghanaians who are 15 years and above. As I said, there are still people turning 15 by the day, and they have not yet registered, and we'll have to continue to register them. Also, registering Ghanaian foreigners who are legally resident in Ghana is something that we're continuously doing. We are registering refugees in Ghana. We are registering children aged 6 to 14. And now we are coming to register Ghanaians who live abroad. so that we can close the circle of registration. And then finally, I'm sure in about a month's time, we hear that we're registering Ghanaians in places of detention, like the Ghana Prison Service. We are working with them, and then also people in mental homes, psychiatric homes, and also in other places of confinement and detention. We intend to register them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor and Auntie Teresa. Before we continue with our questions and answers. Thank you very much. Before we do that, I want to please help me thank the district pastor of the Church of Pentecost who gave us this place. It's in the person of Evangelist Gabriel. We also want to have an assistant. People have been saying president. My vice president is sitting there, Dr. Diana Willie. And one of our directors, Mr. Richard Abakan, he's in charge of our media, social media, marketing, everything. So these are the people I work with. I also have in our midst the president of the Ghanaian Students Association in Ottawa, and the person of Laurie Shea. And Laurie Shea is going to be the one who will be passing the mics around for questions. Please, if you have a question, you come and line up here because she will not be going around. So we want, if you have a question, you come and line up here. Laurisha will give you the mic. You can please speak. Yes. Hold on, they want to get it on their YouTube channel. Or before that. Okay.
Welcome to the National Identification Authority. Jerry, turn your dollar card against the air. Let's do a quick check to see if you have everything you need to register for your dollar.
All you need is one of the things. An original copy of the valid Ghanaian passport.
They're here. They're here.
Welcome to the National Identification Authority. Your journey to obtain your dollar card begins here. Let's do a quick check to see if you have everything you need to register for your dollar card.
All you need is one of the following. An original copy of the valid Ghanaian passport, then certificate issued by the government of Ghana, a certificate of occupancy, or an authorization document issued by the Ministry of Interior Ghana. However, if you do not have any of these documents, you can enable the vouching process.
Hooray! Now that you know what you do, let's get started with your application. Visit the web portal by typing register.nia.gh in your browser. Read the guidelines and agree to the terms by ticking the checkbox and click Next. Type in your preferred password in the field provided. Click on the checkbox to pass the reCAPTCHA. Click on Start Application to begin the process. Then select the Ghanaian button. In the Select Applicant Type section next, select the first issuance. Fill in the blank fields with your name and other required information. Then save the process. progress and move to the next section of the application process. In the verification documents section, fill out your details and upload the necessary documents. Input your contact information and select the Save and Continue button to preview and confirm that all the registration details submitted are correct. Check the box next to Declaration to approve. Click Submit Application to submit the form and make payment. Click on the Book Interview button to schedule a virtual interview to review your application request, and click on Book from the pop-up menu to analyze the booking process. Click on Return Home to go back to the booking action page. You will receive an email containing the link and details to the virtual interview, and proceed to join the interview by clicking on the link. At the end of the interview, you will receive an email containing an encrypted QR code with your application data embedded. Proceed to schedule a date for your in-person biometric capture. Submit the QR code to the registration agent at the Ghana Mission for your biometric capture.
The officer captures your fingerprint, facial, and digital signature. Your card will then be issued to you after your data has been reconfirmed. And it's that simple. The process was smooth and stress-free. Get your Ghana money now. More information, visit the NIA website at nia.org.gt.
They're here.
I think it's done, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, media team. Okay, so we give our first. Right, please. Right.
Thank you so much, Anna. I want to applaud you for the presentation. As I was coming, I was listening to YouTube, so I think the technical team also making it available for those who are able to come. It's really, really important that you are here. I just want to thank you. I have 2 questions that I want to ask. Several questions, but I'll turn it to 2 because we have a lot of people here who will be asking questions. First of all, I have a Ghana card because I was in Ghana in 2022 and I was able to get a Ghana card at your head office, which is good. I got it the same day. But I saw a lot of Ghanaians queuing at that place. So I would say it was a privilege for me to get it that same day. But a lot of Ghanaians that I got to meet on that day, they sat there, some went back home, they came back, and my own brother who lives in Kaswa had registered for the Ghana card 1 year before I went there. At that time, he still has not received his card. When I asked him, he said anytime he goes to the office, he says the card to print was not available. So he didn't have his Ghana card. But most importantly, when I got my Ghana card, I went to MTN to get a change for my phone. So when I went in there, the lady took her cell phone and was scanning the Ghana card. Asked me for my Ghana card, was scanning, and I was there when you said there's an integration with some other organizations in the country, which is really good. So then I asked the lady, do you know where this data you are getting from my card is going? And then he said, no, I don't know anything. And I said, okay, then I'll wait when I get an opportunity to see if some of you, I will ask you, because data security is very important. And we want to make sure that the data that you are getting from Ghanaians is not ending up in China somewhere, where people will be using the data for nefarious activities. Yeah, that defeats the purpose. So we want to make sure good servers at NIA using, where are they located? Are they in Ghana? Are they located abroad? What is the security measures for the Ghana card? That is the first question. So, and I think that a lot of people are basically want to know about the security of our data, right? So that's really important. And I think the second question is, do you foresee yourself and birth and death registration working together as one team instead of separate departments? Is there a way now that you've been mandated to be registering children who are 0 years up until whatever? Is there a possibility of that, those two institutions coming together as one? Because it makes efficiency for you to work together, it reduces resources, because one of the problems Ghana has is the duplication of services. We want to be able to make sure services are aligned properly and also reduce costs. So that's my questions. Thank you.
We please, with all due respect, please make your question a little bit shorter. So we'll be able to leave here fast, please.
Do we one more question? Okay. The second one.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentation. You clarified a lot of questions that I have personally. And one of the questions I had was what the gentleman asked. I wanted to know how I could be assured that my data was protected. Data security and integrity is very important. So if you are capturing my data, I want to make sure that it is in the hands of the government that can ensure that there is no breach. I wouldn't want to know that something of that nature is being hosted by India or China. So that question was asked, I will not repeat it. But the second question I do have has to do with the issue of flashing out scams and fraud in the system. Based on what I have learned, one of the reasons for these Ghana card has to do with combating frauds and then scammers from acquisition of Ghanaian identity. Now, when you look at some of the documents that we need to use to prove that we are Ghanaians and that we have the right or the privilege to acquire this card, it has to do with either your birth cert or passport. Now, if we say that some of these, identity cards, something like passport, has been acquired by foreigners fraudulently, how are we to ensure that such people don't use these same documents to get our Ghana cards? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Just two short questions. The first one is related to the cost. I would really appreciate clarification on whether the Ghana card costs nothing to Ghanaians. I got mine in 2021, and I know I did pay for it in Accra. I went to the national office, so there's still, I did pay. Yes, so I know there's still some $250 if I do remember. Yeah, so I just want us to be clear whether there is a cost to it or not. That's one. The second one is, you did talk about the 10-year, the card is valid for 10 years. So what happens after 10 years? Do you have to go back and get biometrics taken, or do you just get a straight renewal of the card? And I think that has a lot to also do with the minors that we are talking about, because their biometrics and things change over time, and whether they will need to update their biometrics before their cards are renewed. Thank you very much.
Do you want to answer these and then I'll...
Thank you all very much for these very interesting questions, very important. With your permission, so I'd like to begin from the bottom. The last question about the 10-year life cycle and when it's over for next. In answering these questions, I'll be assisted by IMS, specifically by Mr. Emmanuel Selby and Mr. James Kantaman Kumson from IMS, the technical partners. Then on the NIA side, by Dr. Bernard Kuma, Head of Operations, Joycelyn Na Ashomnate, Head of Policy, Planning, Monitoring, and Evaluation. I'm saying it because some of you just joined us for the record. And she's also actual analyst, ANI. Then Teresa Son Benjamin, who is Executive Assistant to the Executive Secretary and also Head Legal. And finally, by Martha Kasai Asoranti, Deputy Head Finance. Now, the card is valid for 10 years. When you go back to, when it's 10 years, the card life cycle is 10 years. So after 10 years, it will begin to be brittle, the laminates will begin to peel off, the reliability of the card becomes problematic. We want you to go and get a new card after 10 years. When you go for a replacement, you will pay for that. The trust of the question is not a thing that I just want to put that in. Now, will your biometrics be taken? I believe that after 10 years, you will want your facial, at least your photograph, renewed. But I will let Mr. I will also be going to any details like relevant on that. But the short answer is yes, you will go for a replacement, and at minimum, your photograph will be taken, which is part of the amendments. The question of payment. Now, NIA has 276 operational district offices, including the Central Kofi, Lipe, and Lulubi area. These district offices are co-terminals, as the chairman said. They are co-terminals of the constituencies in Ghana. Districts are less, I think 261 or 65, thereabouts. Then, if you go to any of these offices, district offices, or any of our 16 regional offices, for the first time that you apply for the Ghana card, it is free of cost. But in addition to these offices, we have established 10 premium registration centers. Now, the NIA head office, where you got your card, sir, it's a premium registration center, but it is not enabled to be so. People don't make appointments, don't do what they are supposed to do. People mass up at the gate. If you get there at 8 a.m. or sometimes, you have about 1,000 people who are there. You are bound to serve them. So we have tried to be responsive and accommodate this by putting up tents. And when it rains, it's a difficult situation. That's not what we would want. But the massing up does not enable premium service to be provided in that sense. And that's what Teresa was saying. If you were the first applicant there, it will take you a maximum of 45 minutes. But if you come up, you come and there are 1,000 people, it may never even reach your turn. But if you get to it, you would have been frustrated for a long time. On the question of payment, you have come to a premium service center, so you will pay, regardless of the fact that it took you 3 hours to get to an official. The service there is premium. If you go to Lampantanan Medina or Adenta or any of the 30 or more district offices in the Greater Accra region, you will not pay a farthing for the service you get. If you go to any of our offices across the country, which are not premium offices, there are no fees. Excuse me. the use of questionable passports. If the passport itself was acquired fraudulently, as the law says, or as we say, fraud unravels everything. So if we know that the card, sorry, the passport was
The last
acquired
2
fraudulently,
weeks,
we
you
will
want
not
to
rely
train
on
one
that.
and
Our
you're
staff have been trained by the passport
new helper.
to
You know, a new
identify
helper.
fraudulent
You know, I'm
passports
not training.
from genuine ones. Our staff have also been
So my
trained
managers,
to be good interrogators. And so even though on the face of it, the presentation of a valid passport, by which we mean despite the presentations on the card, your answers indicate that you are not a Ghanaian, then we do not register. We have a charged the evidence. We refer people whose claims are problematic to the police, whether
even the same minimum be your long term care. I have no use machines. But long term care will bring my manual. What now do so the problem and that's
Ghana Immigration Service returns to us cards confiscated from foreigners who have fraudulently acquired the Ghana card. Some using passports they have fraudulently acquired. And after the such persons are convicted, imprisoned or imported, the cards are returned to us for destruction or deactivation. And so what I have said about passport was not right. To birth certificates, if we have reason to believe that the birth certificate is not genuine, we will not use it to give a card. Birth and death registration and NIA collaborate, becoming one. No, there are no plans to make them become one. There is, contrary to your thinking, sir, there are no really compelling reasons to do so. Their mandates are totally different. Properly understood, what they do is peculiarly and necessary to be done. They are in all districts, are supposed to be in all districts. Registration of births and also the registration of births. What we do, we collaborate with them appropriately and during the presentation, Teresa talked a bit at length about the collaboration between NIA and the births and death registry with respect to the registration of children from age 0 to 5. And that will continue. But there is every good reason to collaborate, not necessarily to collapse one into the other. The mandate of the NIA, for example, is not a mandate that can or should or would be fairly handled if NIA were to collapse into the births and deaths registry. And I think we'll be creating a mega institution if we were to collapse the functions of the births and deaths registry into NIA. For now, at least, it is not envisaged to do that. But data harmonization and integration will continue in order to clean up the database of the births and deaths registry. Data security. I think I didn't highlight it, but we have very high level encryption on the Ghana card. There are many digital certificates on the chip that is embedded on the card. We have public key infrastructure on it, and lots of, and we know the biometrics that are taken. And I said that it is impregnable to the extent that technology exists today. It meets the highest ICAO standards, the global standards. It meets ICAO standards and NIST, National Institute standards. Mr. Manuel Selby will help get into that. But I also talked about the contactless facility embedded on the card with 200 56 memory chip. What I talk about is the portion of the chip that is actually used, which is the 148. So, Mr. Selby, I'll leave that for you to handle. But spoken about it. Network, even here in Canada, you have no network, generally no network problems. Because the data has to hit the database. When you take your data, it has to be transmitted to the database in Ghana to run through and come back to the report that that is you before the card will be generated for you. Now, it will go through somebody's hosting, some other network hosting, before it hits Ghana return. So if there is a challenge, then, and this is a global issue, it's not a Ghana specific or NIA specific. But as Teresa pointed out, within 45 minutes, all things being equal, a maximum of 45 minutes, anyone can get their card. In your case, we anticipate Canada, we anticipate there will be lesser, if any, challenges in that regard at all. There is a genuine issue about lack of blank cards at some of our offices. And so when you go to the head office, you get your card, or a premium center, you get your card. But when you go to any of the other places, when there is a shortage of blank cards, there is a shortage of blank cards. You might recall that last year, NI was summoned by Parliament to explain, to go before it and explain why so people had not had their cards. And it was largely because there was a shortage of blank cards due to financial obligations NI owed to the private bank and to the banks. And when the Parliament got the Minister for Finance to commit and to make money available to NIA, and some of the bills were paid off, about 46,000 cards were released to NIA, and printed cards and distributed them across the country. So yes, in some cases, lack of blank cards have been the issue, and that also explains the portion of the delays that you said you encountered. It is true you encountered delays, and again, I say that if you go to head office, there are a lot more queues there than places, even though those other places may be equipped with blank cards. Somehow people prefer to come to the head office. So it boggles the mind that just across at another office, there is no queue, there are cards, but people queue at the head office. I leave it to my colleagues to pick up any of the questions that you want to comment. But there was a technical one first. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. I'd like to say that none of the data, the primary side and big data, we do real-time synchronization side and the secondary side. So please be rest assured, no data of yours is sitting anywhere in any cloud, anywhere in the world. All the data goes directly to a site, and that's what we use.
Like the MTN scanning the data from the where do you know
Okay,
where
so
MTN servers
when if MTN as an institution is entitled to have just your name and just some particular data, NI does not have access to. So MTN does not have access to your full set of data. It's only what the law mandates them to have. That's the only subset of data they will get. Even when they get that data, the biometrics is not part of the data that goes to them. It's only the subset of the data that legally they are entitled to. That is what it will be exchanged with them. So that is what happens. So please rest assured, your biometrics do not go to MTN. The biometrics stays only with NIA. Now,
can I follow up on this? Okay, because it is important.
when we did the SIM registration, the telcos collected our biometric data. What was the point of that? We already had the biometric data with NI. We submitted our Ghana card. So what was the point of collecting that data? And where did that data go?
I'll let Prof answer.
Well, I think the best person to answer that is the National Communications Authority. I'm sorry, I mean the institution.
Okay.
The name you mentioned is the name of the minister.
Yeah.
Okay. Minister for Communications and Digitalization. For us, our duty is done when we collect your your data, and we secure the data, and we share it with those persons and institutions qualified by law to receive them. We've done that with NHIA, with SNIT, with GRA, and it has been seamless and no controversy, no difficulty, no problem at all with any of those. And we remain capable of doing that with the with the telcos for purposes of SIM card re-registration and all of that. In fairness to National Communications Authority, what I understand is that they them capture data and secure the SIM cards, the data and the SIM card synchronization. That is their field. It is different from ours. They can use ours anytime that they are ready to. All the other institutions have been able to use our data. You are also at liberty to ask them when you get the opportunity. But from our perspective, that is the...
I know a little bit about what is going on between the two ministries. So.
Actually, for us, there's nothing going on.
Oh, no,
we just think that our data can be used.
Yeah, but there was a good reason why they didn't use it, right? Because there was a bit of... Let's end it here.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Any...
Well, yes, I have questions.
A question?
Very much. I think if you have a document fraudulently and you come to the National Education Authority using that fraudulently acquired document to acquire a Ghana card, because at NIA the law requires us to use those primary documents. We have been trained to at least, for the face of it, take a look at the features of a passport and see whether it's a genuine passport. What you must remember is that somebody can have a genuine passport in their hand, but the individual who has it may not be entitled to that certificate. So the document in itself is valid in terms of what it has, and it is just the individual behind it that does not have to have that document. But NIA's process includes interviews. So you are interviewing the applicants before you, notwithstanding the documentation they provide. Because sometimes the information people provide clashes with the documents they provide. So our officers are trained, and that is some of the things that we're doing with the Ghana Mission Office in Ottawa and other parts of the world. That they also go through a process which allows them to question you beyond the documents that you present, so that at the end of the day, we are certain that at least we have done a thorough job and the people who are going to the register are who they must be. But it doesn't take away the fact that if you discover, say, your neighbor, who you know to be a non-Ghanaian, is in possession of a Ghana card, the law allows you to report, you can report to NIA. NIA goes into an investigative mode and then investigates it. Alternatively, you can report it to the police. So for instance, there are people who have been reported to the police and have gone to investigation. The Ghana Immigration Service does the same, or on behalf of the Immigration Service, and they notify NIA as well. And then we also take up our investigative duty of going to the investigation. Then there are people whose cards have taken away. There are people who have been deported because we have gone through the entire process and they have been prosecuted as holding documentation that they ought not hold, including the Ghana card. So I think in terms of how we check who comes onto our database, every individual, every Ghanaian has a responsibility to sort of prevent others from coming in. So you must guard the entry point. And there are people who have assisted, and they are Ghanaian, who have assisted non-Ghanaians to be vouched for. They know the person is not a Ghanaian. They come and say, this person is my relative. And what we do is that we sometimes separate the applicant from the person who's vouching for them. In through investigation, interrogation rather, you come to find that the person does not know the applicant at all. But I don't know why they are encouraging people to get onto the register. If you come to other parts of the world, every country guards the doors of entry, the entry into their national database. And it must be the same for Ghanaians, that you will guard the entry, because other people will not do it. So why do it? Thank you.
I think the cost of it was asked. How much? Yeah, the one here in Ottawa. Home here.
Okay, so the cost components are two. When you come to a premium center at NI, there's a fee. I'm just giving. So when I'm bringing it home, So when you come to Canada, the NIA, being a creature of statute, has abides by the laws that are passed by Parliament. And Parliament prescribes fees for every single registration activity that we undertake. Now, for people who live abroad, so if you live in the ECOWAS region, the ECOWAS region of Africa, the law says that you pay 55 United States dollars. So it's the equivalent of 55 United States dollars to get a Ghana card. So if you live in, say, La Côte d'Ivoire, and you pay SAFA, you might pay SAFA, but it will be equivalent to 55 United States dollars. If you live in the rest of Africa, outside the ECOWAS region, the law requires you to pay 75 United States dollars equivalent. If you live in Europe, in the Americas, Northern, Southern America, Asia, any part of the world, you pay 110 United States dollars for the Ghana, 115, my bad, 115 United States dollars for the Ghana card, which is a card that is valid for 10 years. So that is what the cost is.
110. 115.
110, 110.
US. No, 115 USD, which is big.
No, 2 months.
Wow. And it's USD, so that's going to be more in Canadian dollars.
Our voice is down, please. If you don't have the mic, please don't speak.
Speak again.
I'm glad I'm 3 days obviously going on my camera. I'm a bit concerned about all the verifications that have to be done with someone in the transaction. Is somebody getting paid for that? I mean, when the bank, for example, verifies a card, does somebody get paid? Because I don't really see the point in having open an account with my Ghana card. They're going there to withdraw money.
Your name and your identity there will be the same as when you go to the DVLA, the Driver and Vehicle License Authority. There are people with different names, same biometrics, but different names at Passport Office and DVLA, Social Security, and what have you. So we are saying, let us have one person. If you say you are Kenneth Ajimai Ateba, you must be so at all of these other state institutions. that have data, not different permutations of your 3 names. For the bank, and I gave the example before your arrival here, I gave the example of one. You were here? All right. Oh, okay, excellent. Thank you. But you recall then that I gave the example of one of our universal banks that transacted business by just photocopying a card, doing an ocular inspection, and yet was presented with a card and served the person $162,000 was lost. CD, sorry, was lost. And it was because there had not been verification. We've created a system that allows you to be verified within 300th of a second. It doesn't waste your time. It costs you nothing, but it ensures your security. If you elect not to be verified, the bank cannot and will not serve you. If they elect to serve you, they do so in violation of the law, and they also do so at their own risk and perhaps yours. But if you want that situation changed, obviously it lies with legal advocacy to get that situation altered. We are implementing a law that says we want to create a trusted society with a single source of truth, and that will all converge there. That also dovetails into your second question, which is about when we say your SNIT card will be your Ghana card number will be your SNIT card, or that your PIN, your personal identification number, will be your TIN, tax identification number. What it means, and you said that the politicians, actually, we are saying it. We and I are saying it. And we are not politicians. We are only stating what the law says. What it is that if you get the Ghana card, you do not need to have a separate social security number. The Social Security and National Insurance Trust has been onboarded onto the NI database. And since 2022, I believe, it has stopped producing SNIT cards and piggybacking on the Ghana card. And that alone represents some colossal savings in millions, just from not printing cards, millions of dollars every year. Then in terms of the numbers, the Ghana card becomes a person's social security number the moment that data is given to SNIT. So your SNIT number, your Ghana card is your SNIT, your Ghana card number, your PIN on the Ghana card is your SNIT number. Your PIN on the Ghana card is your health insurance number. Your PIN on your Ghana card is also your tax identification number. So moving forward, everyone who registers for the Ghana card automatically has a tax identification number. And if the person is underage, not in the tax bracket, the moment the person crosses that legal age barrier and becomes a taxable person, that person has a tax number. When you are filling a form that requires you to have to indicate your tax number, your Ghana card number is your tax number, whether you know it or not. So that is a public education to go. And it is your number for all of these sundry services that are provided by the state. From all that I've heard so far, Ghanaians are happy with the integration and harmonization that has gone on. I have personally, this is the first time I've heard a concern being expressed, and we would like to tease out the concerns a little further later on to understand what is behind it. It will be an interesting factual and intellectual question. For now, the fact of the matter is that the state has prescribed this. These are the decisions of Parliament that are being implemented through the National Agriculture Authority. Thank you very much. Yes, and Mr. Kumson will add.
Thank you. Just a little bit of clarification on small identity that you mentioned. For instance, you go to the bank and you should be able to use any other form of identification. So in the bank, prior to a Bank of the Central Bank mandating that the Ghana card shall be the only source of identification, and it has to be biometric. Anyone can come with a driver license. Anyone can come with any voter's ID and be able to do a transaction. Now, all that is based on ocular inspection of the card that you are bringing, the pictorial card that you have. That is what is used. Now, the only reason why, when I get to the border in Canada, when I'm coming in, I'm asked to put my fingerprint on the scanner, is because it's the only way of showing that I am who I say I am. The only reason that when I get to the border posts in the US, I'm asked to put my fingerprint. I see you shaking your head, but I am not Canadian, so I have to do it. So maybe you don't, but I have to do it. When I get to the UK, I have to put my fingerprint on it. When I get to the US, I have to put my fingerprint. Because as we stand in technology speak, is a one sure way of identifying who you say you are, based on your biometric. Now, if you're going to use the ocular inspection, I dare say that you are putting your banking transactions at risk. And that's the example that Prof was giving you. So, no, that's fine. So one of the reasons why we are moving away from that, and you talk about passports, and you talk about, if I tell you the amount of data that is not possibly in the system in terms of, let's say, case passports and all, then you'll be amazed. And if you're going to use them for your transaction, then I dare say that you are putting yourself at great risk. I'm looking for the day that citizens will go to perform their transactions and will actually insist on the biometric verification that I am the one who is standing in front of you and doing that transaction. Now, the example that Prof gave of that transaction that was done at 162,000 or whatever, that was because someone did an ocular inspection. They had done a photocopy of a card and imposed another picture on it. The only way that could not have happened is if I'm there and I put my fingers on it. The reason why the bank had to pay back, the bank could not prove that the person was there himself and he conducted the transaction. The only way that could have happened is if I'm there and I put my fingerprints on it. I'm giving consent. There's one show of knowing that I am who I say I am. I am James Cantman Tukumsin and I'm nobody else. Give you another example. My son bears my name. He's also James Cantman Tukumsin. The only differentiating aspect is that my fingerprint is different from his fingerprints. My fingerprints are not different from my son's fingerprints.
I think we are helping.
Oh, that's okay. I'm also trying. I also seek to clarify. This is.
Sorry, it's coming outside, but
So let's problem solve. Let's problem solve. What would be helpful? Excuse me, sir. I think, what would be helpful, where if you were to identify a specific problem with the national identification system or with the Ghana card project as you understand it today, and then to prefer an alternative, then we can think about that as a solution. For now, for today, what we are here to do is not, with the greatest of respect, it's not to question the decisions of Parliament, which, no. So the focus that we would want is how to ensure that the piloting and the registration for the Ghana card for Ghanaians here in Ottawa and the rest of Canada would be the processes will be understood and will be embraced by those who want to get the Ghana card whilst they are here outside Ghana. That's our mission. And if we can concentrate more on that, I think we would be very happy and moving in the direction for which we are. Thank you.
Okay, so first I will say thank you for coming for this practical session on the Ghana card. It is appreciated. I do have some direct questions. So for context, I am born here, but I would like to apply for the Ghana card. Therefore, all of the documents that were mentioned, I do not have. So my question is, what documents do I need to apply for the Ghana card as a citizen here? The $115 that was mentioned, is that a fee for citizen and non-citizen alike? And does it apply to this situation? As you mentioned before, there are some premium and non-premium locations. So is this a premium location? Therefore, if I apply for the Ghana card, it's $115 US. My third question is, would I be able to apply online through the system that was shown, as I do not have the documents that were listed? Or do I have to go through another avenue or online avenue, or go into the mission itself? Number 4, once a parent does have a Ghana card, can their children also apply for one? Number 5, when can we start registering for the Ghana card? I know you mentioned Tuesday is registration and training, and then there are more steps. So when can I start actually getting a Ghana card? And 6, for spouses of Ghanaians, can they apply for the Ghana card through this process as well? Spouses, yes.
Spouses of Ghanaians.
Yes. So can they also use this process? Yes. Wives, husbands, whoever who are not Ghanaian, can they actually get their non-citizen cards through this process as well? Those are all my questions.
I think those 6 questions, even though she said those are all my questions, your questions are very good questions. For our purposes, they help advance. So
because I think all of us here just want to know the logistics.
Yes, so let's get on with that. Okay, so first of all, a Ghanaian under Ghanaian law, just broadly speaking, a Ghanaian is a person whose parent or grandparent is a Ghanaian. So your grandmother was a Ghanaian, you are a Ghanaian. The proof of it lies with you when you come to register for Ghana. You must satisfy the registration official that you are a Ghanaian. In the absence of any documents, through any of the 2 documents, and the documents are a valid passport and a birth certificate from Ghana. Either one of those 2 documents will do. Now, there's a non-Ghanaian spouse of a Ghanaian is not a Ghanaian. We are registering Ghanaians, not non-Ghanaian spouses of Ghanaians. They may be spiritual and cultural Ghanaians. We appreciate that very much. But they are not legally Ghanaians. Their children with you, the Ghanaian, are Ghanaians. So once you are a Ghanaian, your children are. He is not, or she is not. Then the implied in your question is the idea of born here. That was how you started. Now, place of birth in Ghana under Ghanaian law, if a person is born in Ghana of foreign parentage, the person is not a Ghanaian. Unless the person is a founder, but the person is a family, the person is of a foreign parentage, but found in Ghana with his parents not, or her parents not known. Social welfare, and the person is below 7 years. The person is below 7 years, is found in Ghana, parentage cannot be established, social welfare takes care of that, and they establish that these are the circumstances. And then they go through the legal process and the child will be declared as a Ghanaian. But otherwise, being born in Ghana doesn't make a person a Ghanaian. Also, longevity of stay in Ghana doesn't make a person a Ghanaian. If you stay in Ghana for 1,000,000 years, it doesn't make you a Ghanaian. You could have immigrated from Mali, traded in the town as Amankese or wherever, Nalerigu, done business all these years, have your children born there. But if you and your wife from Mali did not naturalize, did not take any steps to become Ghanaians, both you and your children are non-Ghanaians, no matter your contribution to the economy, no matter the fact that you may speak better Mamprusi or Evi than the native people. Now, the other part of your question, if you are, and I think I've answered, but just for emphasis, once you are a parent, once you are a Ghanaian, your ancestors, the ones you give birth to, your children, are automatically Ghanaians, and they can apply for Ghana card. Your grandchildren are Ghanaians, and they can apply for Ghana card. If they don't have the documents that I described earlier, they can be vouched for. If you have the Ghana card, you can vouch for your children. arms were cut off and that sort of thing. And then there are people who have fingers but no fingerprints because their work involves a lot, the use of the fingertips a lot. So a lot of tailors, a lot of and dressmakers, a lot of fisher people, and those who work with chemicals, those who cook with their hands in the hot water and all of that. A lot of them don't have fingers, and therefore, fingerprints, and therefore the eyes is a veritable source. Yeah, have a lot of parametrics that we can activate and use. I thank you.
There was a question here about the fund that you were able to do.
Okay, so what I right from sitting in here, because what currently, if you take an institution like the DVLA, they're able to register people's vehicles remotely. Somebody can sit in here, send his car to Ghana. Previously, you need to either let somebody register on your behalf, but now you can sit in here and do the registration, your first registration yourself, rather than having to let somebody do it for you. If you have the Ghana card and you are registered on the Ghana.
Some banks are able to do that. Some banks have their on their platforms. Not all of them have been able to, even though the APIs have been shared with them, they are supposed to develop that onto their own platform. So some banks are able to do it, but I think with time, they will all get.
In some cases, they have established WhatsApp accounts with me, but there's no response when I call them. Never get anything. All they want me to do is to come to them.
Well, sometimes
you can also give feedback or a survey so that we can give you responses. Since this is a pilot, we'll be able to see how it is. So if you could get a link with a survey or a feedback, that would help you pilot into the other places.
Okay, so please, they are going to hang around a little bit. When we finish, you still can bombard them with questions. I have my own questions myself. I will see you guys when. But my question is, how many people one can vouch for? Because you see, and also they tie in with you as long as they go.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm asking that is that I'm the president here, and I've been guaranteeing people's passports. So many people call me, oh, the mission says I should see you, you can guarantee for me, and I've been doing that. So with this, people will be training me with a lot of Ghana cards. Yeah, so thank you very much for all you that have been here with us from the beginning. But please.
I suspect this is like you're closing the mouth. But the point you just made, it's so significant, it warrants a comment. And it is
basically that for NIA, unlike the Electoral Commission, which has a ceiling, a number of persons you can vouch for National Identification Authority, there is no limit. The condition is that the person you vouch for as an individual must be your relative.
Okay.
You cannot vouch for a friend or a neighbor or a work colleague, no matter how long you have worked with them, because you do not know the parentage, where their parents or grandparents came from. What you know is that they are your neighbor today. But you can vouch for your child because you give birth to the person and you are a Ghanaian. So it's important, but there is no limit. When we started the mass registration, there was a situation in La Fontana, Medina, where one person vouched for over, I think, 1,200 people. And it was seated, We weren't looking for the person, but we will track that person and all of those. Now that we have the time to look critically at certain issues, the false vouching is one of the things to get our attention. I'm grateful you raised it. The message is clear. You are vouching for those whose citizenship you know to be Ghanaian. And usually, that is your relative, not your colleagues and all of those people whose parenting you don't.
Rob, when you talk about relative, what is the boundary? For relative is a very yes. What is it your siblings or cousins or whatever?
Thank you very much. So we go by the definition of a relative, the English definition of a relative, or the legal definition, which is somebody who's related to you by blood or by marriage. So if your spouse, for the purpose of registration, is your relative, you're related to them by marriage, and then by blood would extend to persons that we share sanguinity. Yes. So your cousins, your blood. So your cousins, your parents, your grandparents, your nephews, your nieces. Just that most of the time what happens is that if you are below, let's say you are 25 years old, it would be odd to have a 15-year-old vouch for you as being related to you because you were born before that 15-year-old was born. So the idea that they would even know the depth of the relationship would be problematic, and then they would also be underage anyway, so they should not be able to vouch for you. But what I wanted to add was that the law says that your relative, and it is only one relative you have to vouch for you, but there are people who do not have no relatives, or they do not have relatives at all, they don't know them. The law allows for non-relatives to vouch, but then we are clear, we have the list of persons who fall into the category of non-relatives that are by law required to vouch for you. And it's a long list. It includes people who are public servants or civil servants or even professionals, so like doctors, nurses, teachers, all those people that you can easily identify. If you want to establish that, does this person know this person, you want to find them, at least because they are professionals, they follow a certain profession, you can find them. So we will also put that list on our website. We already have it on our website, but we'll extend it. And then also the governing board of the, you need 2 of those, yes. If it's not your relative, then you need 2 of the people that fall in that category. And the governing board also took a look at the list when we're coming abroad to see whether the list can be expanded. And it has been expanded to, I think, allow for the president of the association to also but you see, the onus will be on him. At the end of the day, the onus is on him to say or stand by, be satisfied, yes, that the person who claims to be a Ghanaian that he is vouching for is indeed a Ghanaian. He might only know the person through this association, but he does not know the ancestry of that person. So it will really be a huge onus on him, or he must satisfy himself first that you qualify to be registered as a Ghanaian before he goes ahead and registers you. It's high risk for business. Thank you very much.
Can I just ask one question, please? I know we have to go. It's just because you explained the voucher. So if I understood correctly, your Ghana card can be deactivated if it's found that it was as a result of fraud and when you are deceased. Now, what is the yes, prosecuted? So what are the other consequences for people vouching? Because I believe that you went back on some serious education campaign. And if I'm a relative and I hear that my card is tagged to whoever I vouch for, and there's the possibility that the card can be revoked or deactivated, and it might have some consequences. So I vouch for a relative, and is there a consequence on the card if a relative gets an issue with the law and for some reason or there's nothing? Okay.
No, the only consequence for you for having vouched for a person is if that person is found not to be a Ghanaian. Then, oh, yeah, not related to you. Yes, very important point. Not a Ghanaian or not related to you. In which case, you have made false representation to a public officer. In this case, the Ghana mission staff. You have confirmed to them that, or the commissioner for oaths, that you are, the person is a Ghanaian or the person is your relative, and that was not so. Then you get into trouble. And if they go and defraud a bank or rob or commit rape or whatever, that's not your business. Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. So I wanted to add something to what Teresa said about vouching. So for 6 to 14 years, you have specific people who can vouch for them. The direct parents or the legal guardian, you have the uncle, the aunt, or any of the grandparent, or any of the siblings. And the sibling has to be 18 and above, the Ghana card. So in this instance, if a child is coming to register and hasn't got any card, one of these people can vouch for them. And also, to your on your issue, because of the portal we've developed, we encourage Ghanaians to be able to use to nominate someone in Ghana who can vouch for them, so that through the online interview, the vouching can be conducted. So you can maybe spend something.
I have another question. Are we not done? Okay, my brother, please come. This guy is very important.
Yes.
No, I'm saying the vaccine is really important because when I went to Ghana to do my Ghana card, I went there with my wife.
One question.
Yes, one question. My wife's birth certificate showed the maiden name, but the passport showed the marital name. So when we went in there, I could do mine easily. And they said, somebody has to vouch for my wife, that she's a Ghanaian. Okay? Even though she has a married, but I could not vouch for her. Okay? It's my uncle who vouched for her. And I said, oh, if my husband, I could vouch for my wife, how can my uncle vouch for her? So
before you met your wife, you did not know who gave birth to her before you met her. Her uncle knew. Your uncle. That was a total mistake. See, so it was a total mistake. You should have been allowed to vouch for her. Right.
But he didn't have a Ghana card.
After you have registered and obtained the Ghana card, you should have been allowed to register her and to vouch for her. Are you older than your wife?
Now, I think we are done. Right, we are done. I am very happy that without people, as usual, if you never knew this, when President Atanos came, one comment he made before he left this city, he said that he had never gone to a city the whole world with so many learned people. Yes, that is what he said here. And when Aiko Tutu was leaving as the High Commissioner here, he told me, he said, everybody I meet is a doctor. I thought all the doctors were medical doctors. But you ask them and say, oh, I'm sociology, I'm economist, I'm this. You guys have made me proud with all the questions. We can keep on. One person will add 20, another person. It didn't matter whether we are 1,000 or 5, right? So thank you very much for being here. Please, there was one person, that man at the end there, Isaac Dogwe. He is the one from since morning. He's been doing this, and Isaac Dogwe, he's done so well for us. And on behalf of everyone, I want to thank Ichi and our chairman, executive secretary, and to you, you guys. I only met you yesterday, but I love you guys. I love you guys. And him, he's special because he gave me the Ghana card on the phone. That is the luxury of being the president of Ottawa. So thank you very much. And the mission staff, please, we really acknowledge your presence. We thank you for coming around. You guys make my work and our work as Ghanaian community executive members very, very easy. But when I call you guys on visa, passports, you leave everything and you help us, especially Madame Doreen Obonan. You are a very, very amazing woman that helps us a lot because a lot of people can visa and they go in online and they cannot do the thing. They call me, please, they are insulting them and all that. And so God bless everyone. And thank you very much. I hope you have a very, very good stay in this town. You see me again, I'll come to the place and see to it that they are treating you well. So thank you very much, and we are done. Please, there's going to be, we're going to have a group photo with